My name is Amir Afsar. I'm a California licensed attorney, and just like all of you, I am so happy this election is over. Let's talk about the results on this episode of Unbillable.
Is it really over though?
Even though Luis deleted an entire completed episode of Unbillable, if you want a shirt, put it in the comments below and we'll hook you up. In California, this was the most expensive election for propositions ever. And I think we do that every single time, by the way. I think every time there's an election, suddenly it's the biggest one ever. But the next one might not be. And the reason for that is because Prop 22 this year, which did pass, or at least as of right now, nothing is certain, but it will be maybe by the time you're watching this. But Prop 22 looks like it's going to pass. Prop 22 is a $226 million initiative, meaning they spent $226 million between the pro and the con of just this proposition. And what's even more interesting is it's $200 million in the pro and $26 million in the con. So it was a little bit lopsided, if you will. So the first thing that people are saying is that, well, I should start by saying Prop 22. This is the proposition that annihilates AB 5, which used to be, I guess officially used to be referred to as the gig economy law in the state of California. Now it removes its application to the gig economy. That's right, Uber, Lyft, DoorDash, those guys, they put up $200 million amongst them to create a new law which would exempt them from the attack that is AB 5. We've made like a bunch of episodes about AB 5. Even our most recent episode was about an update on AB 5, and that episode ended with me saying, imagine a world where we have AB 5, then we have AB 2257, which amended AB 5, and then what happens if the prop passes and the whole point of the law goes away, like meaning the gig economy is no longer applicable with AB 5. So we have a gig economy law with no gig economy applied to it, so just the rest of us suffer with no real benefit of the original intended purpose. And going back to the original intended purpose, whether you're for it or against it, there is some good to it. The idea of giving those workers the ability to unionize or the ability to collective bargain or just minimum wage or paid time off or like things like that, I don't think people necessarily see as a bad thing, but at the same time, those types of expenses wouldn't bode well for the businesses of Uber. And I think what you're seeing with Prop 22 is a bunch of people who don't want to give up their ability to use Uber and Lyft vote so that they can kind of, vote for their self-interest, vote for their ability to use those platforms because they like those platforms. So technology in this instance is pushing the parameters of employment law when it comes to driving for Uber, Lyft, and the gig economy. And so goes AB 5, the gig economy law, which no longer applies to the gig economy. Prop 22, $200 million to get your way. Oh, is that our guy? Let's go tell him. It's a nice car. I mean, you got it. I mean, a car like that, because that's, a lot of people drive right by that have no idea what it is, but you and I, Luis, are not the everyday car fans. One of the more interesting things that happened this election cycle, but hasn't been talked about very much, is a North Dakota state legislator race involving a guy by the name of David Andel. I might be pronouncing that wrong, but David is a businessman and a rancher and a Republican, and he ran for the state's legislature and he won. But there's one problem. David died from COVID on October 5th. So as a result, there's actually already been an opinion from the North Dakota State Attorney General basically saying that should he win, his party would get to appoint his successor, kind of similar like if someone were to step down, retire, or maybe die while in office. So we actually have some rules to cover this, but at the same time, it's an interesting thing. It in any other election cycle, this would probably be getting a lot more attention and be more interesting. But the idea of someone dying from COVID actually isn't very contentious. It's not like a Republican or a Democrat thing. Both sides don't want to die from COVID. So here's this guy, he ran for his state legislature, he won, but he didn't live to see it. So that way there's no more ad. Come on in, stop it, he's not going to see you.
It's time to call her.
Sorry, I have an 11 o'clock, Luis. This is my one call today. This is a new client phone call, so I have no idea what we're getting into right now. Let's find out. It would be foolish for me to make an episode regarding an election without at least touching on the presidential side of this, the Trump-Biden showdown, the Biden versus Trump fight to the death. Well, not quite a fight to the death, but the election for the presidency. But as of filming this, we don't have a winner. We don't have a conclusive result. Nevada, Georgia, North Carolina, and I think Michigan are still sort of up in the air. Maybe by the time you're watching it, we have a result. But as of the time I'm making this episode, we don't. And I think that's largely because of the large turnout. So let's just put it this way. Whether you're a diehard for Trump, or whether you love Joe Biden, or whether you hate Trump, or whether you hate Joe Biden, I think what is beneficial, or what we can learn or see or benefit from this election in particular, is look how much everybody cares. I mean, that's definitely a positive thing. I'd rather have more people caring than less people caring. So hopefully the momentum of this Trump-Biden showdown can be used in a positive manner. It doesn't always have to be like we hate each other, right? Sometimes you can just look at it and say a lot more people are caring about the republic that is America.
Yeah, because it's only 1 month. All we have to do is look back at 1 month.
Lift your feet, step forward, keep yourself upright. Here we go.
Try hiking 14 miles.
Nobody wants to hike 14 miles. Is somebody chasing you?
Bobcat. Have you seen that video? You guys have, right?
Yeah, the coyote or whatever. It's like a cougar, I think.
A
right?
cougar, yeah.
Yeah, no thanks. That's why I'm on a tennis court.